Welcome back to Space Engineers. And Brian's docked, having a bit of a rest, because Brian is pretty terrible at going up and down. And that's something I want to solve today by building a different sort of vehicle. Essentially up and down, I mean that way and that way. Okay, so it does have thrusters. Yep, 2 of them. But just because of the whole size of this, keeping this small, they aren't really enough to power this thing going up and down very well. So when I'm coming back, if I want to go up that hill and want to come off that hill, well, once it starts going down towards the ground, it's very hard to correct. Very, very hard to correct. So yeah, let's get on with some improvements. So let me just turn things back on. And let's just switch signals back on and switch my torch back on. You get the idea. So today I think we're going to build a wheeled robot. As a scout, yes, there is a bit of rough terrain around us, but it will never have any problems accelerating up into the sky, because it can't, and it shouldn't crash too much into the ground. Although we may need a flipper bar, and I'll show you how to build a flipper bar later. In any case, I wanted to just cover a couple of things first. One is a mod I got for... let's just go to remote access. Oh, I can't because it's docked. Let's just go to the remote control module then. Where are you, remote control? Yes, Meteor Storm. Where are you? Control? Yep, there we go. So if I press P... Oh, in fact, I can probably show you this without undocking. You'll see I've replaced the camera overlay. So it's now clear and much easier to see things through. And that's just on the workshop, so that's very good. Another one a commenter did mention... okay, that's fine. Another one a commenter did mention is the connector. So... I was talking about slim connector. I have used this one before. It is very nice. You can see just what the size of that is, and this is like a third of a block, if not a quarter of a block. And you can put this not flush, but on top of this surface, and then have this ship sitting slightly proud of the surface, so you don't get any potential damage with the thrusters back there. So that is the DK Slim connector mod. If you want to try that one out. However, let's continue. Wheeled robots. Okay, so let's first of all put a few blocks down and let's get started with this. So wheeled rovers are pretty cool. Normally the thing I tend to build wrong with them is the height off the ground we need to get started, just because the wheels are quite large. If we just start building, in fact, I'm going to need more. Blocks. There we go, 600. That should be more than enough. We're going to just build a frame first of all. Just 4 off either side. And then we'll build off that. There we go. Is it going to be too narrow? Well, let's oops, 5. And then let's just build off that and let's see how far we go. I normally tend to build 6-wheeled robots. They are kind of useful. And I think that's going to be too long, but we'll work from the back forwards. That just gives the whole vehicle more stability when it's on the ground. There are a number of wheels, and I think since last I checked, they've got into right and left wheels. I think they just used to be just regular wheel, if I remember correctly. So let's just give this a go, and let's see what this looks like. So... I'm going to need to rotate you, aren't I? Or is that just the suspension? Interesting. It's hard for me to actually see. Maybe it'll help if I wait till daylight to actually do this. Or is this just the suspension? Let's go back to that wheel. Ideally, I want the wheel and the suspension together. So I would hope that this is the case. Yeah, well, we'll soon find out. And normally the other thing that I tend to get wrong is I face the suspension the wrong way up. It only goes up one way, if I remember correctly, and I never remember which way around it is. You soon find out, though, if you got it the wrong way around. That looks the right way up. I'm probably completely wrong, but that does look like a suspension segment, and this just looks like the lower link arm, so I'm going to say that's correct. We'll soon find out if it isn't. Now, the other issue with this is 3x3, so it tends to be... Well, we can go to 5x5, which will make it even bigger. In fact, it'll make it huge. But because it's online with this, well, we may have some issues with ground clearance. You can see, even if it only moves up and down a little bit, this is going to be very, very low to the ground. So we can either move those down. In fact, that's probably what I will do. We'll build a sort of, well, assembly subframe here. Let's just get rid of this. There we go. And let's just build a frame underneath. It doesn't much have to be pretty to start off with at all. And this will make it much easier for me to get to the wheels. So this is right, I guess. And let me just make sure that's the right way around. It looks like it is. Good. Again, it looks like it is. We'll soon find out when we try to drive the thing. There we go. You see, we've got much better clearance off the ground now. So I'm going to go around and put the rest of the wheels on first, I think. I'm not quite sure how far apart. I sort of want to get between the wheels if possible. So I don't want to make sure they're not too close to each other. Let's try a gap of 4. And let's see if that works. Yeah, let's just put another wheel on there. And are you aligned? You look to be. Yeah, that looks like there's enough room for me to get in between them, because we're not going to probably put a cockpit on this, but you can do. You can put a cockpit by all means. But what may be more convenient is just to put a seat on this thing and use remote control again. But remote control with us attached to it this time, and that's sort of a nice way to get, excuse me, to get started. If we were on another world, then we may want a cockpit, because that just lets us open the open our mask like that. So I'm going to carry on. Oh, and that's actually just the perfect size, if it is actually 4 gap between them being quite nice. Yeah, we should have something going. So I'm going to carry on. I'm going to go and do that, and I'll see you back once I've got the wheels in place for some more of this building. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, so all the wheels are in position now, but you'll see they're not all completed, and that's because I want to set the steering wheels. And I can never, well, I never actually remember the order in which I placed them, so the other way to do it is to leave them incomplete like this. And then going here, and we can, this is just our small reactor, of course, we can go in here, we can see the actual 2 wheels. So we can set both of these steering, yes, propulsion, brake, that's all fine. These are the front wheels, so we don't need to change any of these, I think. In fact, what we actually want, probably, depends, is the rest. So let's just say we can rename this now to, not the front, yeah, let's just say front wheels. Okay, so then we got the front wheels available, and now we can complete the back wheels. So let's just do that. There we go, back wheels. And we can tell which ones they are now, because if we go to front wheels, we'll know. So that these are the 2 back wheels. Now, they're also, that you can actually turn steering off for them if you want to. That's perfectly fine. You'll end up with a front-wheel drive Rover car. Or we can invert the steering, and then that will make it rear steer, I think. So if the front left turns left, the front left turns left, the back left will turn right. So it'll be a sharper turn. That's one way to actually do it. So we can give that a try, and if that turns too quickly, we can always turn that back off, because we know which one of the back wheels now. And then we've got the final 2, which we're going to disable. So let's just disable the steering for. We don't want the middle wheel steering, I don't think. At least I don't. Maybe you might want me to, I don't know. Let's give this a go. So in here now we go, front wheels and back wheels. So we've actually not finished the, there we go. Okay, so front wheels and back wheels. So left 2 and right 3 are the middle wheels. Okay, and then if we've got the middle wheels selected, we can just say we don't want them to steer at all. Propulsion, brake, and air shock. That's a new option since the last stride. Normally you didn't get an air shock. What you got was, if you landed hard, your wheels would break, then your vehicle would break, and lots of things would happen. So let's just select them all, and let's just call them wheels. Okay, so we've got all of that. So if we go in and select the wheels, all of them, Can we put the handbrake on? Is there a handbrake? Ah. Oh, there used to be a handbrake. Am I missing it? I probably am. I don't see it though. Maybe that's changed. In any case, we've now got a stable platform, and these, but essentially they are minus sort of height. So if you have a look in here on the wheels, there we go. The offset is minus as far down as it goes. So if you have a look at the very bottom left of my screen now, if I change this, you'll see the wheels raising up and going down. And we want them as far down as possible. We want not a too high a centre of gravity, but I'd like to keep this away from the suspension components when I cut this off. Let's give this a go, shall we? So there we go. All right, and they're now sitting on the surface. Pretty cool. And we have a seat.
No fuel.
Oh. So we're going to need some fuel and some way to actually run this. Now, there's a couple of ways, and I don't think this is actually big enough for one of the ways. I suppose we could. Yeah. What I should have done is, if I was going to do that right, is I should have measured what size the solar panel is. If I'm going to use solar, what we can actually do is do something like this and just turn it and rotate it to face down. Let me flip that over again. No, I want it on this, please. I need to be further across. Okay, so can I actually fit this on here at all? Maybe it needs 5. What if I put an extra block out here? Can I then fit the solar panel on this thing? Let's just hover to get this in place. I think it's interfered with by the seat. I want to say it is anyway. Maybe another block? We're still safe out here over the wheels, and having the solar panel on top will not be a bad thing. The wheel shouldn't get ejected into it. Let's give this a go. It's still not letting me select you, are you? Let me see if I can just fill out a few more blocks and see whether that will connect. Yeah, I built my Rover slightly wrong in that it's one block off. These wheels should be one block further out. I'll correct that at a later time though, because it will still work. On top, we have fitted the solar panels. It just needed one extra block on this side, worked fine. The battery will fit in between them, and then we've got another solar panel on this side potentially, and then this will recharge, assuming it doesn't get hit by a meteor, and we should be okay. So if we just get in here, yeah, there's no fuel. But we'll be driving it third person most of the time anyway, and that will work quite well. So let's get out of this, and got plenty of room to get underneath it. It does look like somewhat like a Mars rover, like an early NASA Mars rover. Was it Spirited Opportunity, or was it even Pathfinder? One of them had the layout like this that had these solar panels on top. So yeah, I will happily use that concept. Now we probably want to put some cargo somewhere, so that's worthwhile doing. Let's just take a look at the small cargo can size versus the medium one. I think the medium one will actually be too large. Well, that's not too bad. That's not too bad, but this is a Scout, remember, so we don't necessarily need a huge amount of room. That said, we do have the space for it, so it'd be rude not to have that in case we want to put... you know, if we want to put some stuff in there, do some brief mining with our hand tools. And this will start charging once I put some power cells in. So we're going to use up some more of our power cells. And let's just tap sell. Should be in here somewhere. My dwindling supply. Where are you? I'm assuming they're up here. Power cells. Ah. There they are. Yeah, I need to put some stuff away because this isn't enough inventory space for everything. There we go. So we should get some free charge just by doing that. And solar cell girder and bulletproof glass is all we need to do with the solar power. So let's go and do that. Let's just go and put the rest of those away. So a girder, I probably want more than one of those. Bulletproof glass, and what was the other thing? Computers, maybe? Solar cells. Well, of course it's solar cells. Come on, Gray. They are solar panels. Where are we? There we go. So, 20? There we go. All we needed was 16. So we got a battery-powered rover. And will you... No fuel. Why are you not starting to power up? You should have some power. Good. Let's quickly check. We don't necessarily need that. Medium cargo can. Control panel. Is everything now working? Batteries. Where's my battery? Fully recharged in a day. Current input, current output, etc., etc. What we could also do is rotate this. Actually, that's a really nice idea. I wonder if we could. Let's just... my inventory's nearly full. I don't want to accidentally... I didn't just do something else, did I? Nope. Good. Right, let me just put that cargo can back. And rotate it down. Now. Remember that slim connector I was talking about? Well, this one. Will you fit underneath here? Is there a small version? I need to flip upside down, maybe? Oh, there we go. Now, that'd be interesting if all we needed to do was maybe... Okay. If all we needed to do was lower the wheels and bring this down onto another connector, like that. We may be able to even put another connector underneath, and that's off by one. That's terrible. Yeah, let's get to put that hopefully in the right place. That's just really hard to get to because of the... You know what? Let's just do the usual approach when we need to do that. And get underneath it. There we go. And flip that correct way up. There we go. Looks much better. There we go. So that's now right. I'll have to correct those wheels off camera after the episode. And now we've got a rover. Anything else we want to put on there? We certainly want an ore detector, so I'll go and put one of those on. What we could also do is put a connector on the top, of course, and have an arm coming over and dropping down. That's another good option. We're probably going to want lights on some kind on the front, and yeah, it's obvious now. Yeah, that's annoying. But we're going to put lights on the front and get other bits. Another couple of bits and pieces. So let me just finish that off. I knew I'd seen a handbrake module somewhere. It's in the remote control section. Handbrake. There we go. So can't move forward and back, but if I'm in remote control of this grid, so if I undo that, we can go forward and back. Oh, that's interesting. I may want to adjust that particular sort of controls. It's a little bit odd, but you'll see. No, that's turning incorrect. Can we look around? No, those aren't inverted. That's very... Why aren't you inverted? I set you to invert, so back wheels. Unless it already inverts them. Let me take control again. Does it already invert them by default? Oh, it does. That's actually pretty good. There you go. So, yeah, it's a little bit slippery to start off with, of course, and it's quite wide. You can obviously see the asymmetric nature of it there. It's quite wide, not very long. That should do fine for turning stability when I'm turning left to right, of course, because very wide wheelbase, it should be quite stable. Otherwise, I think there's a couple of other things we need to actually do. I put the remote control module up there, so I can just get in this seat, hit remote control, and I've got an antenna here, so I can do that from anywhere if I want to drive it around remotely. No real problems there. I guess we've got to name this thing, so let's just go to info and let's call it Doug. Yeah, this is Doug. Marvel reference. Don't worry. Okay, so I need to just go and put a few more things. Ore detector is going to be one of them. And we're probably going to need to build a ramp for this thing because we can't get it off this platform. Well, we can get it off this platform, but I wouldn't want to see what happens if we did. I want a slope, I think, rather than anything else. I don't necessarily want not a heavy one. Can we have a light? Yeah, so we can put that one there, and then maybe the tip of one. These are both vanilla blocks. We do used to have to get mods for this, but thankfully I think these are perfectly fine. Am I going to be able to drive it off there? Maybe. Actually, let's put them over here, shall we? We don't have to complete them as much. I just want to get a working ramp off this thing. And we're probably going to need to put another one below that because they're probably still slightly above the ground. They are. So let's just put a regular block underneath them if we can fit underneath. Oh, that's slightly annoying. There we go. No. Try again. I just want a regular block, please. Light armor block. You'll do. And then we should just be able to put the rest of the ramp, or the sort of slight ramp, I guess, rather than the slope block on the front. And we don't need the second part of it, the tip part. We should have that. Now, that's a bit of an obstacle, but yeah, that is a bit of an obstacle. I guess we can go down that way as long as we're happy with that. I assume the meteors are going to try and avoid structures. I haven't seen them come in and hit this place once yet, but they have gone around it. So I'm a bit wary of parking that thing off into the lake somewhere in case a meteor comes in. But otherwise, I guess we've got to take it for a test drive. So we've got to build a final few bits and let's see how this goes. So ore detector, and we'll put that in. And probably some spotlights as well. Although they can be a little bit over the top, but yeah, let's put this on the front, shall we? So, in fact, that shouldn't matter where it goes. Let's just point it. I was going to say let's make sure I'm central on the Rover, but you can't really get a center when you've got this 2 block in the middle and then the same either side. So it's never going to be quite how I want it. But let's just put it there. Yeah, that happens. There we go. 1 ore detector and then 2 sets of lights. Where do I want these? Do I want these sort of here? Yeah, maybe. Looks pretty good. Yeah. I guess we could sort of put some on the back as well if we wanted to, or facing sideways. That wouldn't be a bad idea. I guess I'm going to put them there. Rotate. Just so we can see all around us when we need to. And hopefully they're not going to be terrible for the battery. But we'll see. I'm going to have to move those one further out, but that's no big deal. And I think we're pretty much done. There we go. So we've got a Scout Rover. It's ready to go, ready to go out and explore. Okay, so let's give her a try. And I'm going to need to remote control. So hit remote access at the top. I can say I want to control Doug. And I should have access to Doug. I do. Okay. This might be a little bit interesting. Let's give it a try, shall we? Up, off we go. And we're down. I've forgotten something. You know what I've forgotten? I've forgotten gyros. And just because it's a Rover, I never think about them. But we do actually need some gyros on here as well. So, gyro. And we're probably going to want to flip a bar at some point. I did mention it earlier, but basically a flipper bar is a rotor with a long arm on it. So if you tip this over, you can rotate the rotor and it'll have this long arm which will come over and push you back onto your wheels. That is worth doing. I've not put one on at the moment, but it is worth doing. Just one of those things. It may be less of an issue now, but because we've got this air shock, so maybe they've done other things that we will want, but it may still be worth doing anyway. So why don't we actually sort that out before I leave? What did I just want then? I wanted large steel tubes, didn't I? Yeah. So we also want a rotor. And a regular rotor will be fine. I don't think we need an advanced one. Advanced rotor, no, rotor. There we go. Let's put that on. That's not the kind of rotor we want. It's not the big one. We want a much smaller one. And you're going to want this bar somewhere. And I think we're going to put it on the front. Yeah, I want to say that's where it should be. Let's just put a block there. And then, well, I'm actually going to put it a little bit further out than that. I know it's going to look odd, but we want a longer rotor arm as possible. You can put a piston on it as well, but that may not be necessary. 7 rotor. There we go, and then we should be able to build onto the front of it, like that. It's going to look very lopsided. I'm not quite sure how the physics are going to cope with this, but we'll see very shortly. Yeah, it doesn't look terrible. It's going to have to go out over the wheels. And of course these wheels are going to move, so we may have to make changes to the size of this. Let's get rid of that block. And this block we can just weld up. There we go. And I think that's everything. Did I put gyros in? Did I weld them up? I needed to weld them up. There we go. So let's pop inside and control. Remote Doug control. And now with the mouse I have some control over that, although from the looks of it that was striking something. Ore detector. And why don't we just move the ore detector? I can put it anywhere I like on this thing, so let's just go and put it underneath somewhere maybe. Yeah, underneath here will do just fine. Ore detector. Yep, we don't want that bar striking anything and causing any damage. Otherwise, just fine. Okay, remote access, control Doug. And now there we go. Okay, so I just went out of it there for a second. Let's go in and go to this rotor. And then we want to have, not necessarily the torque I'm going to turn down because it could just flip us far too much until we see that. Velocity, lower limit, unlimited, over limit, unlimited. So let's not do that. Its current angle is -20. So let's say its current lower limit should be -20. -23, something like that. And then say 180 degrees off that, so 160. Okay. Oh no. Its current angle is far too wrong. We want to change that. So where's the rotor again? Its current lower limit should be 0 then. Assuming that that is the same. And its current angle is -1. Is that right? Yeah, that's fine. So 180 degrees. It's going to flip to the left. So let's just actually change and add a block here. Control rotor. Let's put it on number 3, and let's say we want it to reverse. So if you press 3, that may actually be taking far too long. Rotor. Velocity. Let's just say 10 RPM. Are you going to rotate? No. Okay. One of these settings will get you to reverse. Yeah, that is working. It is setting the reverse thing, but it's just not actually moving. So let's just increase the power somewhat. And why aren't you not moving? 1 second. There we go, I just had to fiddle with the settings a little bit more. But you get the idea now. That bar is coming across. And it's going to come back. Now, if we want to flip ourselves out, we may have to increase the speed a great deal more than that. But that will get us out of quite a small issue if we get to that. And for larger issues, well, you know, we can always solve it another way, even if we have to grind the stuff down and rebuild. But we can now have a drive around and see if we find any... Oh, it's definitely jerking sort of one way or the other, but otherwise it's working quite well. And I can just zoom out there, and we can see various things. We've got iron, lots of iron, so we know where to dig there. There's a coloration to the surface anyway. We've got platinum, that's just the stuff in that crater. No need to really worry too much about that. And we can steer with the mouse and go and head out. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. We've got a nice drivable Rover around. How well it does off-road is another thing entirely. If you want to just go completely off-road, you might even want to build with maybe four of the large wheels instead of 6 of the medium wheels. But feel free to do it either way around. You'll get something going which will be quite useful. And of course, when we're out here, what you can then do is just mark something on your GPS and come back with Brian in my case. Alright, so from Brian, Doug and me, hopefully you've enjoyed the episode. Feel free to like, subscribe and share if you have. And we'll see you next episode for maybe even a new welding robot. What should we call the welding robot? Meek? Not sure yet. But thanks a lot for watching, guys. As always, I'll see you next time.